where better place than to start an episode with a complete parts explosion? So, shouldn't take long, should it? To put all that onto there. Ah, game on. Right, well, a few things bolted on. The wings have the 3 bolts at the back on, and the fronts are on axle stands, and then that piece is just sat on, and the hood pin is centered, and the 2 measurements at the bottom of the wings are way off, so there's going to be some interesting squaring up going on of the like the core support lower half type thing. So yes, so it's now Thursday. I'm going to play with her tomorrow, hopefully get her smogged and registered tomorrow, because the thermostat came for the OBM. And then over weekend we should have some good progress. I mean, we should have, I'd say, a welded on front end, like at least a lower framework down here for the core support till kind of sit and be centered and squared up. Ho ho ho! Kind of looks like a truck. Nice. Right now I'm just trying to get an idea of how high this front end should be, because the wheel openings are so big, because it was an F250, that the fenders are very spaghetti like. All the bolts are in the back there, but you can lift these up and down 6 inches because it flexes and twists, so it doesn't really give me an idea of where the front should be. So the fenders are on axle stands right now, and the hood is on, and I'm basically just trying to get an idea of panel gap. Is it's kind of in the ballpark. It's good in the front. This one's way out, no idea why yet. This is it seems the problem side, but it's going to give me an idea. So I'm going to probably going to chop the chassis legs, and I'm obviously going to run my framework so it's parallel level with the chassis legs, so that means that's all going to be square. This is going to give me an idea of where that's going to be with my core support, which is there, and then I can start to once I've got that framework in, I can then start to shim the whatever up to 1/2 inch that it probably is out. So next plan is offer up the core support into this area and see how far back I've got to take these frame legs, which is probably going to be all the way to the front support there. Okay, so we've cleared out a few things and we've just made some first cuts on the end of the chassis legs. Bits are there to move this panel back. So this was a guide for the radiator, I think, to sit in somewhere here. Obviously don't need that anymore, so trimming that there. I'm going to do the same right there, as this is making contact with the front panel area. I don't really want to move that oil cooler. I think it's a transmission cooler, if I can help it, so we'll see if we can get that to fit in there somehow. Okay, so it's been a day of jigging and poking and cutting. So where I have put my cab, which is obviously personal preference when you're swapping a frame, what happened was, so this ridge runs on the top of the chassis leg, runs across the top of the chassis leg like that, and it goes back to about that far. I've cut the chassis leg directly at the back of that ridge that runs along, and I thought I was going to have to run some box section, underneath this Explorer chassis leg to support this, but it was right to the end of it. So we're close, just got to move this power steering cooler right now because it's fouling. I'm going to pull it down to the side, down here or something. Those eagle-eyed of you may have seen earlier in the film that I actually put these on the wrong side and they were flipped the wrong way around. I had that metal on the back of there. Whatever. They're in the right place now. So I'm going to take this cooler off and just see if I can raise. I've got this on the trolley jack now, so if I can raise this up and just get this front panel supporting all the front end. So tomorrow I think we'll be bolting it together, bolting the front end together completely, getting it all level, getting it equal on the chassis legs, and then figuring out a mounting system. So yay, should be like welded in tomorrow, I'd say. Game on. There we go, one of these films. would not be complete without one of my airborne friends, wherever they are. Okay. God, it doesn't actually look like I've done a lot since yesterday, but I've literally been wrestling around with this entire front end, drilling out snapped off rusted bolts and going through all these to find decent ones. So we've got about 50% of the bolts in, I would say, and the front is being held up by that single jack stand. So the jack stands are out from the fenders. So the hood isn't on today, so you can see that it sits, this truck front panel sits in front of this one, so we're going to be chopping that down more when the time comes. But mounting it wise, and it wants to sit this way as well, so I've got bungee straps kind of centering it. It's all going to come off yet anyway. But I actually took more off the end of these chassis legs. They go right down to the actual body mount now. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cap these ends, and I'm going to weld this U-shaped cross member to the actual chassis legs. Then, I mean, this is actually rusted at the bottom, so I'm going to create another cross member that then runs all the way across. So I'm going to have a cross member that runs across to make it nice and stiff, and these verticals are the only thing that are going to be welded, you know, that are going to stay there, and you're not going to be able to take them off, because that'll come off, that'll unbolt, everything will unbolt. The only thing that will be unboltable will be the verticals and the cross member that comes across, and that should make it nice and stiff. So yes, I'm going to throw the hood on now and just see what the panel gaps are like, and then it'll all come back off and start to weld. Okay, so here you can see how far I've taken it back. So I've even taken like the lip that comes out for the mounting off this, and it's pretty much completely flat. I've double skinned that part because the U comes down over this inner area, so that's double skinned. As you can see there, it's all pretty well flattened off. So we're just going to mount up all the front end back on now, and then set the height and tack it in place. Hello Mr. Gardener, ruining my sound. Okay, so it's on. So what I've actually done, I wanted to lock it in place, to position in place, because there are so many moving parts here. It's just like fucking everything just moves and sways and just up and down and everything. So what I've done is I've put a couple of tacks there, and you can see the heat distortion on the back, where I've put one on the underside. So what I'm going to do tomorrow is take all this front end off, and then I'll have access. So that's, you can see that's that C-section there, the back of it's right there. I have access to this front panel mount, where I'm probably going to build a mount off, so I can just have two sandwich pieces of metal with a bolt in, weld it to the back of this, weld it to the frame rail, and that should make pretty good front panel mounts. Gusset it all, you know, do it in nice thick metal, and it should come out pretty nice. There we go, happy days. Rightio, as always, one step forward, 5 steps back. Here you can see where I've tacked on. So this is basically the U-shape that goes into that U-shape there, and is kind of the framework for everything. So that sits on there like that, just tacked it in with a couple of tacks. And what I plan on doing is doing something basically flat, and then couple of triangles to reinforce it. And then this is all completely rusty, and also this in the way of the actual, I think that's transmission cooler lines coming up to here. So I'm going to be putting a cross member across here somewhere. I don't think a thin cross member is going to affect airflow into the radiator, but if it overheats, that will prove me wrong. Well, this has definitely been the most productive day on Fat Betty that I have had in a long time. So we have basically finished the front mounts for the core support, if you will. So that's attached to the core support. Look at that lovely curvy stuff. I'd like to say I did that, but I just had it and it looks pretty, so whatever. So then we've gusseted that underneath, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to run some box from there to there, but I need room to chop those tack welds off to get the 53 core support off. And then We had some nice rusty bottom panel there, so we've replaced it with some box, seam welded it. That's all done, and now that gives me room to run the oil cooler back in its place as the hoses run underneath. But I'm gonna be chopping this slam panel probably around there, I'd say, because the bottom part, that mount, is the mount for the actual radiator, and then the top I'm going to have to build off the top of this core support. So yeah, so on the other side, same again. I'm going to be running some box down there, but I just need some room to chop these tacks off. Then I can get that front panel off tomorrow, finish it. Yeah, front end's coming on nicely. Here we go, fully self-supporting. That new cross member is in the bottom because the old one was rusty as hell. Those spot welds have been cut off now because down there, where are we? There you can see, let me focus it. There you go, you can kind of see it. So the mounts run directly off the end of the Mountaineer chassis leg. Pretty simple really. So yeah, so we've got two spacers underneath, so we've got some height adjustment. Shit, you just broke my grinder, whatever. Yeah, we've got some shims in there now, so we've got adjustment down about 1/2 inch and up as much as we want to go, as many shims as we want to put in. So grill next. Thwarted by the gardener noise gods again. But look, she has a face. It seems kind of mean though, because she has no eyes. It's like she's got her eyes plucked out, but whatever. It is progress for now. So everything's on. Just threw some tacks because this was all broken here. So the game of plan, I'm going to throw the hood on, and it'll make her quite complete at the front. We're going to figure out this whole area, what we're going to do with it. We're going to figure out the inner wings, how we're going to blend in the truck inner wings to the Explorer firewall. But I'm going to call it for now. That's it for this episode, because I haven't done an episode for so long. I need to get something out there. Next up is going to be finishing the welding around the firewall and mounting the steering column. So that should be pretty cool. I'll probably get some wiring in there as well and all that good stuff. So yay, progress finally. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.